Hi, welcome everyone to my live stream today. I will just wait a few more minutes for some people to show up. If there will be anyone, we will see. And then we will start about some new tools, or some tool actually I have written for Maya, which is a light control tool to make your life easier as a lighting artist. So as I said, I will just wait a bit longer for people to show up on the stream, and then we should get going. Let's see if all the social media is up and running. That is running. Okay, we'll just see. Maybe it's too early days. I thought it's a good idea to start this early so we have also the European people showing up, but I might be wrong. So let's see. Hi, greetings, Philippe. Thanks for tuning in. I will be just waiting a few more minutes for some people to show up, so feel free to ask any questions so far. Okay, we got 21 people tuned in already, which is nice. I will be just waiting a few more minutes, and then we will get going with the new light control tool I have written for Maya, which is already available. It is still not fully tested on all the platforms, but you can definitely have a look if you want to. But I will give a demo shortly what it is and how it can make your lighting experience a bit smoother in Maya, because it is really a pain to work with those tools currently, or in my opinion, that's what it is. Um, just a few more minutes. When it's 35, like in 2 more minutes, I'll start. China, wow, that's late then already, right? It's like 10 p.m. or something. I'm not sure. India, Spain, China, Tanzania. Well, it's lots of people. Welcome everyone. It's nice to see so many people join in. Also, this is I'm not sure if you have seen this. This is now my final render from Arnold with the new Arnold 5. This was an integration test just to see how the shaders work and the new lights and all that stuff. So I posted this on Twitter already, the final result. Let's see if we can pull it up here. Tune USA. Yeah, it's, well, it depends where you're from, but on the West Coast, it's 12:30 now. So this is the final rendered results with some little comp tweaks. Oh, it's 2 a.m. in Thailand. Nice. Okay, so 1 more minute and then we get going. As you can see, I have the live stream up, the live chat up, so feel free to ask any questions. Yeah, displacement maps from ZBrush. It depends how you output those maps from ZBrush. There are different options like the 0 level and a few other options. It's always a bit difficult to tell you exactly the workflows, but I can tell you if you have a map, I can show you how to set it up. It's called Opacity in Arnold. So if you want to have like a cut out shader, I will do some live help tutorial training sessions. So just bear with me. Anyways, okay, I think it's almost done now. What's going on here? Okay. How many people are joined? Let's see that. 36. It's all like a classroom, which is cool. Okay. So 5 minutes up and running, and the first thing I want to show you guys is the light control tool, which I have developed in the last 2 days. I have been using this for a while in production, and I have developed this also for the ease of use out of for artists. It's called, I just call it light control because that's mostly what it is. It helps you to light up your scene. Yeah, I'm not showing you how to install Aton. There's lots of documentation on that. So anyways, if you want to run this, you can actually go to Bitbucket and download the repo and install that if you want to. So it's called Light Shaders, and you've got for now this light control tool. There will be a new called one, new tool called Attribute Control. But anyways, this is now light control. The default view is pretty boring. There's nothing going on because you don't have any lights in the scene. So this is just the car in the scene and no lights so far. So the first thing you do, obviously you need to do is create some lights. So I will be creating some Arnold area lights, a few of these. I think I have now 3 lights. And let's create a typical Maya directional. And then I hit the refresh button, and then you can actually see that the lights appear on the left-hand side. So let's see, I click on the one area light, and we directly get a proper light view of that. So with all the needed controls in one view, and then it's automatically looking through that light. So it's like, I don't like this sRGB stuff, so this is better. So this is now actually looking through the area light. And then if I click on the other one, this is area light number 3. Like this, and this is all very smooth, and I will show you how it works with the live render on going on as well. So I'm starting the render session now, and this is what we have so far. It's a bit cluttered, as you can see. Let's just try to make this fitting on the screen. So you can see the render is going strong. Let's check if there is UI that's saved. Okay, so and you have the option to disable and enable all the lights. So this is now looking through the direction light, and you can see it's working really smooth in the Arnold render view. So for now, let's just disable the direction light, which is hidden now, and then we have the area lights. So for this, let's create a backlit car. I'm actually not sure how the perspective looks like so far. Oh, this is the perspective. Let's angle it nicely, something like this. And let's bring in some exposure to this. So exposure to 10. Is there something going on? Maybe it's still too far away. I might need to add this normalize checkbox because that might be very helpful. So this is now exposure of 15 and my scale is at 1. So let's increase the scale, which should not do much because normalize is on. Right, so you can see it's slightly getting brighter. Let's just make this stronger. So there you go. There's now the backlit area light. And you have also the controls to plug in textures. You have the color for the light right here, but you can also enable Kelvin. So Kelvin is enabled now, and I have the Kelvin slider. So that's very convenient to use, and you don't need to worry about the attribute editor anymore, which is pretty cool. So you have the samples. You have these new spread controls to make area lights more like a spotlight, and you have roundness to make the rectangular area light circular. This is what the roundness does, which you can also find in the attribute editor. And then soft edge just fades in the edges, so it's a bit softer. You've got samples, 1, 2, 3, how many you want, and you have the contribution, diffuse contribution, spec SSS and all that stuff, and a global scale. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So then you have obviously a few more options. As you can see, you have got the select toggle and the look through toggle. I will explain them in a second. So let's just scale, let's just make like a light from the side, make the scale maybe 5, and then increase the exposure as well. I'm not doing any lighting tutorials now, I just want to show you how neatly this actually works, and you can do all the lighting in one view, which is very nice and helpful, I guess. So this is now a sidelit light. I can also add Kelvin, make it orange, whatever. And then the direction light, let's bring that back in, enable this. And this is now my key sunlight. And let's do something like this. And you can see you get all the controls, and all the controls which are available are shown. So if, for instance, you can see that there are way more controls on the area lights, but less on the directional lights. And this should help you focus on the relevant stuff. And then we have the select and look through. So if look through is off, you can still click on the other lights, but it won't update the light control view. So you can actually change attributes on different lights without looking through them. And the other thing is the select toggle here. If this is off, it won't actually select the light in the attribute editor or in the outliner. As you can see, when select is on, it does actually change selections. So you can change the attributes if you want without actually changing the selection. If that is something, for instance, if you have isolate selected in the render view enabled and you don't want to change selection, but you still want to control the lights, you can do that easily by just toggling this. And let's say I want to change the directional light color without selecting this. I can easily change it to be a green key without doing any selection changes. It is still early days, so most of these like report will open a website and open your browser, so you can send me an email. Documentation is not up and running yet, so I started this like 2 days ago, as I said. But you can download the repo if you go to Bitbucket, and I will share the link with you guys. So I think if you go to overview, I think if I just paste this guy in here, you guys should be able to. I think you'll be redirected to the wiki page, and then you get the download page. And I actually need to add this how to install it. So it is in the overview. So maybe I just you need to add two paths, like the Python path and the Maya module path, to your Maya environment file, and then they should show up in your menu in Maya. As I said, this is early days. I will be working on this still, and I will be adding a few more very convenient tools which I have developed during my time working in London. There is a light editor inside. Yeah, there is something similar to that, I think. Where is that? Light editor, light manager. Well, this was developed, I think, 3 years ago, where this fancy stuff did not exist. So it might be that Autodesk has something like this. I actually did not know about that. Light editor. There's a thing to search. Flat lighting, light control. That's my thing, as far as I know. There it is, rendering editors. Interesting, let's see what that makes. Rendering. No, wait, I said it's in a Hypershade. Well, it will work for, I will add support for PRMan lights. Currently it is the default Maya lights and the default Arnold light, but it's super simple to just add the lights for PRMan, and I will also add V-Ray lights. So this is more a global tool. Still don't find it though. Beside this guy, you mean? Let's see. Light editor, interesting. Okay, what does that do? Oh yeah, that's that thing. I see. Yeah, it's similar. I've seen that before, I think. And you have somewhere you can actually view the lights. Well, I'm not sure how. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, yeah, it is pretty similar, but it's still very limited. As you can see, you don't have all the nice controls from Arnold, so it's not very helpful because you cannot change like the Kelvin color, or you cannot add the contribution. So this is more simple. And it's, I don't know, whatever you want to use. Redshift, yes, I can think of adding support for Redshift as well. Currently, I'm just focusing on the main renderers, so it's not really planned, but if it's simple, I will definitely add this as well. Right, so there was a question, and you can just look and where I can find it. Okay, let's see if we can solve that quickly. Yeah, maybe the difference of my light control and their light editor is that I actually have been using this in production for a while, and I added all these features based on my needs. So it is written from an artist point of view, let's say that. Okay, so opacity. Let's just quickly try to see if we can get this working. It should be fairly simple to create Arnold opacity. So let's have a plane just to make it more visible. And then we have another plane like this. And let's create a light, Skydome lights. Currently it will be okay, so I will be showing you how to use opacity. Some of you might know how to do this. It's fairly straightforward. So you assign the shader, standard surface shader, and now it's a bit cluttered. Let's just start the render, see what we get. So this is what we get currently. And now let's just move these guys over. Right, okay, so at the bottom of the shader, you have geometry and then you have opacity. So currently this does nothing because the problem is for opacity to work, you need to have on the shape node, you have to enable the opaque or disable the opaque so it accepts transparency. So this guy needs to be off, and there you go, it's hidden. That is all the magic there is. So now you can have this slide. Oh damn it! I did not want to do that. How did I do that? Huh. Okay, so and now obviously you can map some fancy stuff to your opacity map. So this is now a checkerboard, pretty simple black and white map, and you have the control to control the opacity. And it should actually work with shadows also the same way. So we should actually see some checkerboard shaders. Let's see if that is true. I think it is. Yeah, we can see some proper shading going on here. So this is how you set up transparency / opacity in the new Arnold version. Well, it's the same as in the previous versions, I guess. This is currently 18, but it is exactly the same so far. There's no big changes, so you can use Maya 17 and do exactly the same things I've been doing, but be sure to update to the latest Arnold version, which is currently 2.001 with Core 5001. That's the one I'm using, and to get always the latest things, be sure to update that. So what was the other question? Transparency, like in view. I think that was the question, Tiago. I hope I answered that. Yeah, so how to use remap value and remap color instead of AL remap color. So it's exactly the same shader, the remap stuff. Oh, and the snow shader. Yeah, I can do that. I have, yeah, well, I will come back to that question. So AL remap color and AL remap float from AL shaders. That's a question. What is the difference there, or how do they work? So I don't have them installed anymore, but what they are doing, they were just having some hue shift options, exposure options, and some masking options. And you can achieve the same thing with the default remap HSV or remap HSV color, I think. Yeah. So the thing is now, it's pretty simple. You just plug in your color, and then you have the options to grade the same way, like the output min and max in here. So if I have a noise, let's just plug in a simple noise to the input here. So the out color goes into the, let's just use this guy, and let's just assign AI standard surface, and this goes into the base color. So this is now assigned, and is it? I think it is. No, maybe it's not. Let's just assign this. Okay, so render. There we go. So now the noise pattern is applied to the base color. Disable specs for now, and let's just increase the scale to maybe 15 so you actually see something. So there you go. So, and then you have some more detail, some fancy stuff going on. So the question was, what is the difference, or how do you actually work with those remaps? So in the remap HSV, if you want to add more contrast, or you want to actually change the ranges, you can do this in the input-output ranges. And input min and input max just says the minimum black value is you can specify that a value of 0.2 is actually remapping it to black. So if I do that, I say every value which is smaller than 0.2 will be totally black, and this is what it's doing. So the higher I make this number, the more values get set to be black. And this is how you add like speckles of color or something like that. And the same thing for the input max. So every number which is smaller than bigger than 0.8 will be set to be totally white. So this is the other way around. So you can see what's going on in the render. So if I want to add some contrast, I can do this, and I really contrast the image, and we get some really hard edges. And the output max is more like a shift. So this is just changing all the ranges, like extending the ranges so you have more values in them. So this is something, if you want to have like, you want to clip this to a value of 0.4, and then you want to say the output maximum value, which this texture, this remap outputs, is a value of 0.3, 0.2 something, and then it clamps those values down to that. So this is kind of how they work, and I hope that it makes sense how it works. I love your saying animating a mesh light. All these questions. Okay. There was one more which was interesting. Looked at tutorials for Katana. Yeah, I'm currently working with Katana at work, so I might be doing that. The thing is, to get it working properly, you in most cases you need a studio or like a little pipeline team to set it up properly. So the basic version, yeah, I can show you how to work with that, but as it is like that, you will never work with that in production. Snow shader, Procedural. Okay, so that was the remap stuff. So then I wanted to show you just a different setup. So for the car setup, some of you guys asked me a question if this was done in Substance Painter, like the texture work on this, but it was actually all done procedurally, and I have written or like collaborated with an OSL shader, where you can actually use the PMAT pass, which some of you are familiar with Nuke, where you can make use of the PMAT directly in your shading networks. And I will give you a quick demo, and I will at some point open source this shader for you guys to work with that. Let me just bring this back up. So the Hypershade, so this is the shading network for the car paint. It looks fairly cluttered, but this is it does make sense, or it does make sense for me. Let's say that. Okay, let's see if we can actually keep a render running, that I can show you what those nodes do. So what do you think of Houdini? Well, I'm not an effects artist. I never did lighting or looked at in Houdini, but they deliver pretty awesome effects, so I can't tell you much about it. It's a nice tool, very sophisticated, very powerful, and I guess that's all I can say about Houdini. So perspective camera, perspective right here. These UI, my machine is just too slow. Is it updated now? Yeah. Okay. So the question was if I use Substance Designer to get, for instance, these stripes here. But no, this is all done procedurally, and I will show you how. Let's move to Isolate Selected. So car paint, I need to find myself again in here. What did I? Stripes, red metal, coding, switches. So here's the magic of the stripes happening. So I've got this P mask. Okay, so what this node actually does, it's creating it's actually a way I can show this properly. Anyway, so what it's doing, you can define a position and a radius. So this creates you a black and white mask. And as you can see, if I create, let's just zoom out a bit so we can see what's happening. And I will just create, or I will just move it, I guess. So going back to the hypershade, and this is now this node right here. And you can see this is now a P mask connected as shader, which has been written in OSL. If I break these connections, you can see that if I move this position, I actually creating a mask inside of the shading network, and you can see it's actually moving on the surface. So what it is in the end, it's a very large sphere which is scaled, and you can see that these values here in RGB space. And this is like RGB is XYZ, and it has been scaled in the Z-axis by quite a big number. And this is how to actually, now you can see I'm scaling this and making it even longer and thicker and whatever. You can do all these fancy things in this shader, and then you can have the power to position those values as well. So now I'm offsetting this in a Z-axis and an X, I guess. And you can see it's actually moving on the surface, and this sticks to the surface. So whenever the car moves, these masks, they are fixed at that position. And then the other thing I did was create like some dust patterns. Some dust. Where's the dust? Where's the dust? So this is now the other thing I did. So let's just do this guy. There we go. So this is a dust mask I have used with the position path. So this is a position path in the y-axis, and then I used some noise patterns to create this procedurally dust creeping up from the bottom, going upwards. And then what else did I do? Curvature, some more maps, and then I brought them all together. So this is now the combined occlusion and curvature maps. And then I have another dirt layer which is being mixed together with this mask, and then it's all combined together to create this diffused dust pass onto the car. You can see it's getting dirty in those edges, and the final render result is now this guy. Let's just quickly check the questions. Yes, I work for ILM. Can you make a trial like alleyway scene? What kind of show disable the beauty pass when batch rendering? Disable the beauty whatever. I'm not sure. I have never rendered batch like locally at home. I would use like a deadline render or something just to use not the Maya batch render system, because I don't think it's really production ready. So I can't really give you an input on that. So the question was, how did I do this lighting? And I thought I went through this already. This is actually when I walk to work, there is like this alley. So I thought it's a pretty nice prop to do some CG integration. Is this guy still running? Yeah, still running. So let me just double check if everything is still up and running. Looking good. Okay, so there we go. So what I did, I actually went and walked around, and I was shooting an HDR image using an app. So this is the HDR I was shooting. So is that Gastown? It is Gastown. Yes, it is. So there is an app. There's always an app for everything. So there's an app. Let me just try to connect to this guy. You should be able to see. Yeah, there you go. You should see my phone now. And then there is an app called Street View, which I have been using to shoot this photo or this HDR. So I was actually just walking. Almost 2 million views. That's pretty neat. So this is what I shot. I was walking like in Gastown to work, and I just shot this simple sphere. It's like an app just to create 3D spheres. And yeah, so that was that. That's the image I shot. And then I did some And then I did some, I don't know, color grading, made it a bit more high dynamic range. So I did some masking options down here. Let's see, takes a bit to load. So I masked out a few images and I added some dynamic range so the sky is brighter and the walls are darker. So I did some tweaks to that and then I output this, and this is the one I have been using inside of Maya. So this is the lighting's HDR, and then it all came together, and I think in Maya itself there has not been much lighting going on. So I have these walls set up. Yeah, I think the app is called Street View just from Google. So this is just these side walls which I have applied a projection shader, so the walls are actually reflecting back. So if you check the windows or the refraction, you should see that there is a car, like something being reflected properly. So these are the power lines, and you can see that the wall is being reflected in here. Volume shading, yeah, I know you have been, yeah, there will be a tutorial on that at some point. So don't be impatient. It will happen at some point. So then it's mostly composition. So I had to place the camera. I eyeballed the camera. I kind of knew from where I was shooting the backplate, and the backplates are also somewhere. When I make this proper tutorial, I will make them available for you guys. So let's just quickly see where I actually put them. Training, live, integration. Yeah, so here are the backplates. And actually I shot some, which looks like CG cars, but they are actually proper real images. So this is now a Mini Cooper I've been shooting, and this is kind of was my reference, so you can see this is what I was going for. And this is now the reference images for the alleyway. Some texture work. So I think this is my backplate for the final render, and I knew how I was shooting this image, so I could have placed the camera more or less the same way. And obviously I was googling the focal length for the iPhone camera, which I was shooting it from. And this is how it's being done. So what is next here? Let's see. I won't be talking about my work employment, so I won't be answering those questions. Yeah, volume shading is coming. Render management, foliage, I did that. Snow shader, yeah, okay. So the next thing is talking about ShadersXYZ, which is a very nice platform for people learning shading, people wanting to see how other people do lighting or shading. So it is called Shaders.xyz. Let me just paste this guy here. And I would encourage you guys to join this channel or this platform. It's from Zeno. He's pretty active in the community, and he created this website or this community for us look dev artists to share our knowledge and to make it a great learning experience. So the latest challenge is the Raspberry, which is actually pretty tricky. I thought it's pretty simple to set up, but you see pretty fast that it is very challenging to set up a good looking shader, and there have been lots of posts already, lots of people joining in. Let's see if we can actually load this up. Taking a while somehow. What's going on? I think the stream is killing my internet. Is it? Looks like it. Okay, let's see. Human skin. Oh yeah, I also wanted to talk about that at some point still. Not sure. I think not sure what's going on now. The stream is still running, so I just think the ShadersXYZ is a bit occupied, or it's just my internet connection, which might be not sure if you guys did that now because all of you joined there. I'm not sure. Let's just see if I can access this from my phone. Yes, I will be making a tutorial on the LE scene. Okay, so okay, interesting. Maybe it's okay. Well, it was working a few minutes ago, so it might be that you guys killed the server or something. I don't know. Maybe Zeno wasn't anticipating so many viewers, or maybe he's just doing some maintenance. But please, when it's back up, I would encourage you guys to join, and I'm active there as well. I'm doing some. I did some Raspberry challenge as well, and the retro reflector as well. It's very challenging. He's got good ideas, and there is also this snow shader as well. So the question was if I will make a tutorial on the snow shader. I might be doing that actually. Yeah, I will provide you the backplates and the HDR. I think that's all I will be providing. Nuke template used for your projects. It's not really a template. I was just setting this one up myself quickly. So on the left side is, I will actually make this script available. This is how to break up the HDR to do some really simple and good working paint work. If you need to paint out some stuff like the tripod or something. Arnold ray switch. Yes, I can talk about that. That's a very good question. Something Arnold related I can help you guys with. So the nuke is what's doing. I actually need to rename all this stuff. So I'm actually just extracting all the passes. As you can see, this is the refraction, spec pass, p pass. I don't know, and all the other diffuse, for instance, as well. And I'm just doing some grading using position mats, and then at the bottom I'm just plussing them all together. So this is then the final comp, and then I'm doing some black and whites. Adding some little glow effects to make it more integrated. Added some steam, which is, I'm not sure, I was just testing a few things. And that's mostly the template, so it's nothing too fancy, honestly. Right, so the ray switch, let's just see what the doc says, because the ray switch is pretty interesting to use with. Yeah, it does definitely work. It's a ray switch actually does what it means. Like it's switching different rays for different kind of ray types. So you can, for instance, have a different color for the diffuse on that certain shade or whatever. Let's just see if I can find it. Is it a utilities shader? It's always hard to find stuff in the docs. Color? Not volume. Maybe I need to search for ray switch. There we go. So yeah, you can see what it's actually doing. So you can have a different shader for different ray types. So for instance, you can have a different shadow color, and this helps you to do some interesting effects, or actually do some debug shading, or some things for compositors to have, like to break physicality and make it more easy to use. So I can try to set up something. I have not worked with that in a while. Yeah, linear workflow is also a big question, which I don't know why it's so crazy to understand. It just like everything is linear in Maya. So every texture, or that's how I am working. So everything which I'm using inside of Maya is linear, and I'm just viewing, like, also only my viewing space in the render viewer is set to RGB or whatever. This is now sRGB, so the raw one is the linear output, and everything else is just a display LUT, which means it will just change how it's being viewed on the monitor, but internally it is treated as linear, which is how it should be treated. So each texture you have, if you output from Mari design or whatever, make sure they are linear. There's no baked in sRGB color spaces or something like that. And if you know your texture is sRGB space, which most of the internet textures are, you need to change your rules in your either file texture or in your AI image node. So if you download a texture from the internet, whatever, some fur texture, whatever, make sure this is set to sRGB, because then you saying the renderer this is sRGB, don't treat it as linear, and it will work this would be some exceptions you need to do. Hi from Germany. So what else is there? GPU will Arnold implement you. Yes, they will implement that, but they don't have a milestone for this yet. So they said it will be end of the year or even next year sometime. So there is no specific release dates for that. Okay, let's just try to do the ray switch thing. Yeah, so let's see if we have a sphere here. So let's see if we can get this working, and like, let's just assign a standard surface to both. So this is a standard surface shader 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And this is the ray switch. So what I think how this, let's just do this quickly and make this shiny. And some metalness, no roughness. Let's see how this looks. No lights obviously won't work. Right, so this is now the reflected sphere. Okay, so the ray switch, let's see if we can get this actually to work. So this is the sphere, this is number 2, and this should be the sphere. Which it is. Okay, so if I plug in the ray switch, so everything, let's connect the shader to all the passes here, right? So this should be like a pass-through shader now. So everything which comes in goes out of the shader. Why doesn't want it to connect to the reflection? Oh, it's just not updating in the UI. So this is a bug, so nothing to worry about. So you can see in the attribute editor, it is actually connected. All the ones are connected. And the out color now goes into the shading engine, and we should have the same result, right? If I update the scene, it's exactly the same. So if I tweak values in here, it does exactly what I would expect it to be. So let's change the diffuse color to be red, right? So we have a red reflection. And now what you can do, you can actually break it up and say, hey, I want the camera color. Let's see if this actually does work, to be flat. So now you have a flat sphere which you can use for a mask or something, but you can see the reflection is still the proper shader. So, or what you can do, you can actually have a gold shader. So let's create another standard shader and plug this into the camera, which is the camera ray is the one which you see directly from the camera. One ray hit is the surface. So let's say we want to create a gold shader quickly. And there is a preset, let's just use that because I'm lazy. There you go. So now you have a gold sphere, but the reflection of that is actually the red one, which is this guy. And then you can do different things if you want to do that. So you can actually plug in, I don't know, whatever you want. You can have a fur shader. You can have a specular transmission is purple, and you can break it really up. So you can have different effects with using a ray switch, which is very convenient and helpful in some cases. I have not used it myself in production so far. Well, I did actually at some point. Yeah, I did actually. No, it can be helpful in certain situations. I'm not sure what you mean by node workflows. What is node workflows? What do you mean by that? AL shaders will get a new version, completely new. It won't be updated to AL shaders or whatever. So Anders Langlands is not developing the older versions for Arnold 5 because the current shader set from Arnold which ships is pretty sophisticated and they have the same functionalities. So, well, I heard that he will be writing a complete new set of shaders, so something completely different, which is new to the industry, so I don't know what it will be. How do node works? I don't know what these questions mean about node workflows. Sorry, guys. Let's see if shaders is back on. Oh yeah, we're back on. So anyways, let's try to go to the Raspberry shader now. Oh wait, maybe not. Oh no, we are. Okay. So we already have 95 posts in this. So this is, he always provides you a scene, a lighting scene, with the assets, and you get these the lights and the HDR and everything. And this is the reference image, and the challenge is to replicate replicate the reference from the CG. So this is the CG scene, and you can use any renderer, and the winner gets this T-shirt, and then you can all see all the posts. So different people posting. I have my first test was this one, which was solely SSS, which looks nice, but it does look like plastic, so it does not resemble that. And then at some point I have another one, so I have two posts already. I did not actually see Zeno's post, so this is Zeno's post. Zeno's post with the very nice depth of field. I don't know, somewhere down the line. Lots of entries, lots of interesting results, different approaches, some compositing things. This one is actually pretty cool. Let's see if I can find my second one. Yeah, actually, so here's my, it's a bit darker, but this is now using refraction and SSS, like a slightly bit of SSS as well. So you can see that, and I have some jitter colors, which means I have a random value for specularity, of random, oh, not random, but a different value for the color and for the specs. So this is what I did for this guy. I can actually show you the shading network for this. Let's just close this one and go to work, training. No, it's actually not here. Scenes, I think that's the one. Isn't Ornatrix like a hair thing? Yeah. Well, I wouldn't do that. You can do all the fancy stuff with XGen nowadays. So get familiar with XGen. It's pretty simple. If you go on Patreon, there's a friend of mine who is also supporting, who I support on Patreon, which is Tarkan Sarim, who's actually a pretty awesome groomer, and he's working like in the industry. And he has very good tutorials on how to create those grooms. And most of the grooms I'm using in my tutorials is from Tarkan. Follow him; he's got very good stuff. Good, it's mostly XGen. And obviously, if you want to support me, you can become a patron of mine if you go to this page here and support me if you want. I would appreciate it very much. Can you make some physical camera attribute with the on-set camera you receive from the set? Mostly in lighting look dev, there's nothing we do. So it goes to the tracking guys. They do the match move and they extract the camera information from the plate. So in the end, we just get the final camera. So obviously what you need to match is the focal length, and you need to match the back plates, the film backs. That's the important thing. So you need to match this guy, and obviously the film backs needs to be matched, and then it's just about positioning. And then in the compositing software, you need to distort your CG renders, so it's matching the distortion of the film plate or like the film camera, and then it's mostly that. So for the Raspberry, you can see not much, but you can see there are some grooms, like some hairs on it. If I can select them. Not sure actually if you, yeah, well, you can see them here. There are some XGen hairs which I created for this. So the shader Let's just talk about the shader, which is, I guess, more interesting for you guys. Okay, loading. Okay, so as you can see, I have the basic AI standard surface shader. And let's just hide this guy. And let's zoom in here. Oh, I'm actually moving the light. That's not good. Damn it. I hate when that happens. So I moved the area light now instead of the perspective. Okay, so I'll just start the render. Okay, starting. Yeah, you need to cache it out. You need to, if you do animations with XGen, you need to cache out the animations, the groom. I think I'm using also subdivisions. I think I'm also subdividing pretty heavily. That's why it takes now a bit to subdivide the scene. Three times should be not crazy. Not sure why I don't see anything. Let's just hide all the other stuff. Find this guy, hide all this stuff. So we're just working with one, so I can show you the shader. Let's see if this works better. There we go. Let's just see if we can unhide the rest now again. Okay, there we go. Now it works. So I wanted to use isolate selected, and I just want to show you what I did with those nodes. So in the hypershade, okay, so this is the jitter color. So what I did, I was actually extracting the geo. So each mesh is a single object. So because in the scene it is combined. So the AI color jitter is the same as the AL jitter color. So what it does, it creates you a random output based on the input. So the current input is like a gray, and then I have in the object space I have some random gain. So this is now what I've been using to randomize the colors on that. And then I have the same thing for the specularity. So this is a random spec intensity, and I did the same for the color. So this is my input color, and then I have a gain offset for these guys. So this is what I have been doing to create this breakup in the shader. Yeah, so that is currently that setup. What else? So I'm currently setting up a tutorial to create animal fur using XGen and AI standard hair to create some nice furry animals with proper UV texturing. So this is what I'm currently working on. And the last thing I want to talk about was the displacement shading for the last tutorial I did on the human skin. So if I just remove the surface shader and I just do a standard surface shader, you don't need to worry about which version I'm using. It does not matter. Really, it does not matter. It's the same stuff. Doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go to the skin and just adjust the subdivisions so we don't go too crazy. Let's just do 4. Okay, yeah, Clarissa is a pretty good tool to do environments, like to scatter in real time and to use a real-time lighting shading. It's pretty cool. We use it at work as well for environments, which is pretty interesting. I did not use it personally locally at home or something. It's a cool tool, definitely. And there's lots of potential with that. So the question was about the micro displacement. So how is a micro displacement set up in this human skin tutorial? Because I did not really go over this in the tutorial. So is there something going on here? Is it really subdividing that long? Let's just try again. Update full scene. Oh, I'm rendering in 3K. That's why. Okay. Come on. It takes a while. I accidentally changed the resolution to be almost 4K, so it takes a while to do everything. So let's just go back down to, I don't know, 50%. And what is that? Come on, what's going on here? I don't need light because I just have the basic, that's correct. Okay, let's just try to run this again. It seems it's not actually subdividing anything or rendering it. So what is going on? Let's just hide all the rest. Let's just change the subdivisions again to be very low. Two. Yeah, I will show you my computer specs in a second. There we go. I think it was subdivision issues. Okay, so you can see it's actually pretty dense already. Not dense enough for proper high frequency displacement map though. So this is currently subdividing it 2 times. And for this to show, let's just try 3 and see how this works. So 3 should be good, but also I think 4 was actually good for this tutorial. I think I actually used 5 in the final render. Okay, let's see if we go to the hypershade. So currently what I'm doing, this is my base displacement image, which I got from the website. And then I've got the micro one, and then I'm mixing them together using a mix shader. So I'm blending 4% of the micro displacement onto the Emily default displacement map, and then they go both into the displacement shader. So let's just see if we can start the render. Yes, I worked with tentactive grooming, and it is pretty good. So subdividing, which takes a bit, so we need to be patient on that side. So currently my computer specs, nothing crazy as you can see. It's 2.9 gigahertz i7. I think it's now 3 or 2 years old. 32 gigs of RAM. Yeah, that's currently that. So it's subdivided. Let's go to basic mode. And you can see this is now my displacement map. And I hope I can actually change the amount without it being to re-subdivided. So I'm just storing this image. And let's just bring this one to 0. I think it's resubdividing it. That's the thing about displacement maps. It takes a while to get it look correct. So this is now, I disabled the mix weight. So this is only showing the base map. Let's see if there's a big difference. It's hardly visible in this simple resolution. But you can see that this is just the default one and this is with the micro displacement. And you can see that there is like a really soft breakup. Let's just maybe zoom in a bit more if that's better to see. You can see that there is some breakup happening on these patterns. So this is what the micro displacement does. It adds like surface roughness to overall change the look, which is very convenient to use. Could you explain quickly what is the utility of subdivisions and its parameters? Well, subdivisions is, I think, self-explanatory, right? It's like subdividing the mesh at render time. I'm not a groomer, so I cannot answer you any grooming questions. I'm sorry about that. So subdivision. Let's just tear this guy off so I don't need to always move it over. So let's do some subdivision, one subdivision, wireframe. So this is the default subdivision, right? No, it's actually not. So none would be the default one. So this is how the mesh looks like in the viewport. And then if you change it to cat clock, this is a subdivision type. So it's smoothing the surface, and the more iterations, the more it gets subdivided. So each cube gets halved and then halved and then halved. And you need to be careful. This is a very sensitive value depending on your input meshes. Then you have the adaptive metric. I think auto is in most cases good. You can change the edge length, so it will be only subdividing the mesh depending on a certain edge length based from the camera distance. So let's just see if we can do this. This is now changing adaptive error. Let's just increase this guy. And at some point it won't subdivide anymore. Edge length 2. 20. Let's see if I actually can get this to work. There we go. So edge length of 20 does not subdivide because I'm defining that this edge length value of 20 is the maximum amount. So when the mesh is far away, it won't subdivide 2 times. If I go closer, I think for this to work, you need to update the renderer though. And then it should be subdivided again. As you can see, it's now subdividing based on the distance of the object to the camera. So it's very performance efficient if you have like large scenes and you have highly subdivided objects. And you don't want to subdivide 6 times objects which are just 1 pixel wide in the render, right? So this is how you would do this. So it will only get subdivided if they are close to the camera. This is what the edge length does and the adaptive error. And you can choose flatness, which won't subdivide flat surfaces because they are flat and there's nothing to do. I'm not sure exactly what the adaptive space, object, and raster space is. It's I don't know, not sure. Then you have UV smoothing. This is just a way if it should also smooth the UVs when subdividing or not. So this depends on how your textures are set up. And smooth tangents is if it should smooth the normals as well when subdividing, like the tangents of the geo. Yeah, that was that. The subdivision, different thing. You can read up most of those things actually online on the guide, so it's actually pretty good explained there. And then one last thing I guess I want to talk about is the Surface Shader app. Some of you might already know it, some might not. I will show you to it here. Feel free to ask any questions right now because I will soon end the stream. So this is the Surface app, which you only can get for iOS so far. And it is a database of reflectance values for shaders, for materials. Currently, it's mostly metals. I've got a few glass objects. So let's go to carbon, and this is now the carbon screen. And you can see that there's reflectivity and edge tint values. You've got the reflectance curves, and you actually have proper reference images, how carbon looks in the real world. And you can share this, send this to your computer to get those values in your rendering package. No, I won't go over any Maya 18 stuff, so this does not really matter. It's not important for the stuff I'm showing you guys. And you have a search function right here to search for, let's say, diamond. I've got a diamond shader right here. Obviously, it's not a diamond. It's just, it looks like glass. And obviously, there are ads, so that's what it is. Feel free to play around with that. Do you think the procedural shading workflows in Maya can replace texturing for non-heroes? Definitely procedural texturing shading is the way to go. Just look at Substance Designer. It's a procedural shading package which is very efficient, and we use this most of the time. I will also add a proper tutorial how to work with that. Currently, I just had some live session about this. So this is all procedurally based texturing, and it's pretty sweet. It works pretty good with the new shader, AI standard shader. And obviously, I'm trying to do non-hero assets most of the time procedurally. So the question was on what movies I think I've worked on, right? Yeah, so if you go to my website, you can actually see that portfolio. So these are the recent ones I've been working on. I'm working currently on a few more, which I cannot tell you guys right now because of NDAs and stuff like that. But there are a few more to work on. What's the name of the app again? I can share you the link. Surface. It's just the iTunes link, but yeah. So this is the iTunes link for the app. I don't model. I'm just, well, I can model, but I never found it too pleasing, I guess. So I don't know. I'm working in the look dev lighting compositing side. So this is what I mainly do. And obviously I do programming. For those of you who missed that, actually, I can quickly show you what that does again. So I have this light control tool, which is a UI to control lights. You can select the lights and you can actually position your lights, and you have all the attributes for that specific light in one view instead of having to click in the attribute editor or click on look through. So this is mostly a UI which combines all the tools and which should help you guys control your lights better. And then you can get that from Bitbucket, which is an open source repo. If you want to contribute, if you want to help me coding, you can do that. It's an open source project, so you can have pull requests and stuff like that. And I will share this guy as well. 10 downloads already, nice one. So as I said, it is still early days. You might encounter bugs. You won't be able to install it properly because I just released it a few hours ago. It's very early days. How do you tab your hypershade view paints? Oh, that's a good question. I got that already. What render would you say you noticed for job? What render would you say got you noticed for jobs? I don't follow I don't get the question. So how do I tab that? Yeah, so in the top right corner, you have all these presets, and I think I chose Rendering Expert. Yeah, so Rendering Expert has this UI, and I was just adding my stuff now. So I was moving the outliner to the right or whatever. So this is how I was customizing this. I was closing this tab, and then I have the hypershade, which should open a new window, and then you just move this here, and then you can actually drop it so it's still docked to this guy. And this is how I set it up. And then I stored this, save current workspace, lighting, and there you go. And then you can actually lock it. If you press the lock in the top right corner, you cannot move any things around, so you cannot accidentally remove it from the docks and stuff. So this is how I set that up. Yeah, so I think I showed you guys everything what I wanted to. 60 people watching, that's quite a lot. Cool. So I will stick around a few more minutes. So if you have any questions still, shoot. If not, I will be gone in a few minutes. Light shaders in 16, that's a good question. As I said, I did not test that. I don't think so because Maya 16 uses PySide 1 and my tools are now written for PySide 2. I did not add this wrapper to support all the Maya versions. And for one person show, it is a bit tedious to try to support all the renderers, all the Maya versions, and make everyone happy. So my limitation, I guess, is Maya 17 and onwards. So I hope that, yeah, that answers your question. So I don't think it will work. Do you use also the add function? Ooh, very generous. Thank you, Tyrion. That's very generous. Really I appreciate that. Thank you for that donation. Do you also use the add function in the new mix? What is the add function? Oh, adding shaders. Yeah, I actually did use it once. I can show you for what exactly. So, but be very careful using the add function because it does break physicality, and you need to know what you are doing with that. So, okay, I just try to quickly set up a scene. As fast as I can. As fast as I can. Which one was a garage? There we go. Okay, so now this should be loading. Use swatch render. Does this actually work now? Does work. Nice. Okay, so assigning a new shader. And then going to the hypershade and graphing that and duplicating this, adding a mix. Well, I sometimes just did the mix shading for, I don't know, some edge cases, so it's not always recommended to use the edge mode actually. Okay, so if I use add now, they should be added. Currently I don't want to do that, so I just show you. Hopefully it does render something. Obviously it crashed. Let's try another one. We have a few open. Okay, let's create another sphere. Let's see if this renders now. Okay, it does render. Thing is, I want to have some shiny reflection, so that's why I'm using a sky dome light, and I want to have something showing up in the reflections, hence I want to use this guy. Let's just use HDR hub. Which one is nice and small? This one. Let's use this guy. Let's see if this renders now. There we go. Okay. So now I assign this shader. And this is a, let's make a red plastic. So what I was always doing, so if I want to have a red plastic shader, I do something like this, desaturate it a bit, something like this. And this will just be the diffuse, right? So we won't have any specs. So if you want to use add shaders, this is what you need to do to not break physicality. One shader, this is what I was using it for, to add some shininess on a separate shader. So this is shader 1. And this is shader 2, which will be just a spec shader. So mix shaders. And mixing shader 1 and shader 2, and this guy goes here. Right, so let's try to see what we have now. Okay, so they are now mixed by 50%. So this is now shader 1 plastic, and this is shader 2, which is a white. So let's say I want to have like a clear coat. So this is what I would do to do that. I would make it black, and this would be the clear coat shader. And now if I mix them together using the add function, both shaders are actually linked together, and this is now, I could call this the spec lobe or spec. So now you can do modular shading using the add mode, but this is something you need to understand, and it can break physicality pretty quickly. So this is now my spec lobe and my diffuse lobe, and this is them combined. So if I want to have like a metal coating now, you can just increase the metal stuff and get a chrome coating, which I think breaks physicality, but this is how I would use the add function. The thing that I found most difficult is drawing from a plan. The thing. Well, it depends what is your I don't know what you want to do, what's fun for you. If you like modeling more than the other ones, concentrate on that and really be good at modeling and become a master in modeling. The same for rendering or lighting or physics or whatever. It's very depending on what you like the most. There is no render denoiser, no. Have you shared what tutorials coming good links? No, there's no new tutorials so far. I need to record that. Did you learn Maya in college? I went to college, but I did not learn anything really. I did most of the stuff I know is about self-learning and experience in companies. Yes, there is a movement and procedural textures because the textures are based on world space and not on object space. So it is important to, if you have, for instance, a noise pattern, which I can show you right now. And I apply this to the base color and I do a blend. So this is now the noise shader, increase pattern. So now this is based on object, right? If this is on world position and I move the object, you should see that the pattern, that the object is moving through the pattern. You can see it's, well, I hope you can see that, but it's actually, let's make the scale a bit smaller. Let's do 2. And increase the amplitude. There we go. So now if I move the sphere, you should see that it is moving through, as you can see that in this example. So that's a problem. So important, what you need to do is change it to pref or to, I think object space should fix this as well. There we go. So now it's an object space, and object space means the textures are applied in the space of that object you are shading. Hypershade, and then you've got pref, which is a like a pref position, reference position, which is in this case the same effect. That's what it's doing. I don't know about like setting up your computer, sorry. I don't model anymore. Well, I used to model, but I was mostly doing hard surface stuff, which I did pretty good, I guess. But at some point, I just liked look dev and surfacing and lighting more than modeling. So I think I modeled with my 2011 and 12, like those versions. So they did lots of improvements with modeling kit and all this kind of thing. So I don't know. So I used to model actually, using these kinds of techniques, mostly with the marking menus and doing kinds of extrusions. But I guess most of you guys who are watching the stream are very much better in modeling than I am, because actually I did not model for a while now. So this would be now a welding seam or something. And then you can actually add some subdivisions to this guy. Like this. Yeah, as you can see, this would be my fancy modeling experience. And then obviously you can add some bevels to these guys. So I think lots of you guys work with crease sets nowadays. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. You work as a do you some model? Do you Do motion vector paths give the same result as running with motion blur? What is the production of running motion blur? No, vector paths, motion vector is never the same as rendering motion blur directly because it does not compute them properly. I know John Knoll. I have not met him in person. So vector blur is mostly faster and good or equally good as rendering motion blur when you have 2D motions. So if you have a car and it's moving from A to B like this, you can use motion vector paths the same way, same results as, or like 95% the same result as rendering it. The big problem is rotational objects. This is where motion vector passes really suck. So if you have tires, for instance, and they rotate like this, motion vector pass is really bad at this and it doesn't work. And I would recommend you to render these things either separately out or just render the whole thing with motion blur. The same thing for airplane rotor blades, helicopter rotor blades, or anything which has a rotational object. Okay, that was it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and let's see how many actually visited. I'm not sure. I will try to host live sessions regularly, but I not always have the time. 58
Thank you
people
guys for
watching.
tuning in.
Whoa. 58 people watching. Thank you guys for that. And talk to you guys soon. The next tutorial will hopefully be up pretty soon. I'm still undecided exactly what it will be, but it will be cool, definitely. And if you appreciated my stuff, please support me on Patreon just to give me some feedback and some help as well. Anyways, I will actually there will be a new material series coming up as well. Let me just post on the Patreon link one more time. Let's just go to creator page. There we go. So would be appreciated if you support me there. That would be great. I won't be including the car, no. Anyways, thank you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.